Hare Krishna. Okay, so welcome everyone to our daily Gita classes. Today we are going to be speaking from chapter number 2, entitled Content of the Gita Summarized, text number 61. Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yuktaha Ashita Matparaha Vashe Hi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasya Indriyani Tasya Prajna Pratishtha. Word for word translation. Tani, those senses. Sarvani, all. Samyamya, keeping under control. Yuktaha, engaged. Ashita, should be situated. Matparaha, in relationship with me. Vashe, in full subjugation. He, certainly. Yasya, one whose. Indriyani, senses. Tasya, his. Prajna, consciousness. Pratishtita, fixed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Please repeat after me. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Purport. That the highest consumption of yoga perfection is Krishna consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvasa Muni picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, and Durvasa Muni unnecessarily became angry out of pride and therefore could not check his senses. On the other hand, the king, although not as powerful a yogi as a sage, but a devotee of the Lord, silently tolerated all the sage's injustices and thereby emerged victorious. The king was able to control his senses because of the following qualifications as mentioned in the Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, Text 18 to 20. Savai mana Krishna padar vindyo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane karau hare mandira marjanam dishu shrutim chakra chitta satpatodaye mukunda lingalaya darshane drishyau tadvritya gatra sparshe anga sangamam granam cha tatpadai saroja saurabhe Shrimad Tulasya Rasanam Tadarpite Padav Hare Kshetra Padanu Sarpanne Shiro Rishikesha Padavi Vandane Kamam Cha Tasya Natu Kama Kamyaya Yato Dhamma Shloka Janarasya Rati. So, translation for that. King Ambarisha fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So that's the first one. Sa vai mana Krishna padara vindayo. That is, King Ambarish fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, which is Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. His hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord, which is Karau Hare Mandiram Marjanadishu. His ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, Shrutim Chakra Ajutta Sat Katodaye. His eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drishyam. His body in touching the body of the devotee, Tad Vritya Gatra Sparshe Anga Sangamam. His nostrils in smelling the flavor of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, Granam Chatat Pada Saroja Saurabe. His tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him, which is Srimad Tulasya Rasanam Tad Arpite. His legs in travelling to the holy place where his temple is situated, Padav Hare Kshetra Padanu Satpane. His head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, Shiro Rishikesha Padavi Vandane. And his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. Kamam cha dashe nadu kama kamyaya. And all these qualifications made him fit to become a matpara devotee of the Lord. Yatotma shloka janasraya ratihi. So this is the word like line by line translation of each of the lines of the shloka. The word matpara is most significant in this connection. How one can become matpara is described in the life of Maharaj Ambarisha, Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushana, a great scholar and acharya in the line of the matpara, remarks, Mad Bhakti Prabhavena Sarvendriya Vijaya Purvika Swatma Drishi Sulabeti Bhava. The senses can be completely controlled only by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. Also, the example of fire is sometimes given. As a blazing fire burns everything within a room, Lord Vishnu, situated in the heart of the yogi, burns up all kinds of impurities. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu and not meditation on the void. The so-called yogis who meditate on something other than Vishnu simply waste their time in a vain search after some phantasmagoria. We have to be Krishna conscious, devoted to the personality of Godhead. This is the aim of real yoga. Om Ajnanat Mirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sutani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Ashita Matpara Vashehi Yasendriyani Tasya Pragna Pratishtitha. So this is the first verse that is the most important verse that Krishna will speak about himself. Up until now, Lord Krishna has not mentioned his own role in this entire situation. So let us recap. In 254, Arjuna asked a series of questions and sub-questions. And one of the sub-questions is, Kim Asita? How does a Sthita Prajna, how does a man with fixed intelligence actually sit? In the sense that, how does he control his senses? That was the question that Arjuna asked. Now, in response to that sub-question of Arjuna, Kim Asita, the verses from 258 to 263 is basically dedicated to answering that question. So in 258, Krishna started his answer with the analogy of a tortoise. He said that just like a tortoise can withdraw his limbs when there is danger, similarly, a Sthita Prajna is a person who can withdraw his senses from the sense objects. But we also discussed that there is a weakness to this strategy. The weakness to this strategy is that, like a tortoise, you could externally withdraw, but internally you're burning with sense enjoyment, with the desire for sense enjoyment. So that was a weakness in the strategy. That was highlighted in 259. So the way to address the weakness, Krishna said that you must have experience of a higher taste. So what is the actual phrase that he uses? He uses param drishtva nivartate. That param is higher. Drishtva. Drishtva, Prabhupada has translated as being taste. And nirvartate, meaning he ceases from. So when you have the experience of a higher taste, then only will you be able to give up your attachment to sense objects. So without developing higher taste, you are going to be meeting with failure in your attempt to control your senses. Then in the previous shlok, in 2.16, Krishna expands on that point and he says that the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So he is trying to say that the senses are such a formidable enemy that if you do not control them, if by your own power you try to do so, it is very, very difficult. But we must learn to control them, because that is the defining hallmark of a Sthita Prajna. A Sthita Prajna is one who can control his senses. That is why if you look in our Sampradaya, the title of Goswami is given to the most qualified sannyasis, and not only sannyasis but anyone who is very qualified. So what does the word Goswami mean? Go literally means senses. There are many words to the word go. Go is also cow, but go also means senses, and Swami means the master. So when we address somebody as Goswami, what we are trying to suggest and actually glorify is that this is a person who has mastered his senses. He is a person whose senses don't get the better of him, but actually he is a master of his senses, and that is a defining quality of a Sthita Prajna. Okay? So control is a must. We must learn to control. But as already mentioned, Krishna has said that to control the senses, you must have taste of a higher nature. That was in 259. And now Krishna reveals what that higher nature is. He says, Yukta Ashita Mat Paraha. That I am that person who has that higher taste. You will find the higher taste in me. So, this is the first indication that Krishna gives in the entire Gita, that bhakti is the essence. Just the phrase mat paraha, that phrase indicates bhakti. That only through bhakti will you be able to control your senses and be becoming a Sthita Prajna. So till now, Krishna is just in the role of being a teacher to Arjuna on how to control his senses. But at this point, he is now telling Arjuna that I am the object on which the controlled senses should be fixed. The first time he now brings up this point. So, Arjuna has asked Kim Asita, and what is Param Drishta Nivartante? And Krishna says now here, Yukta Ashita Matpara. Okay? Now, in this verse, there are three stages. And the three stages are denoted by three C's. The first C is control. The second C is concentrate. And the third C is conquest. Okay, so what is the first C? Control. Second, concentrate. Third, conquest. Okay, so let us go through all three. The first line of this shlok, Tani Sarvani Samyamya. So, one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control. First C, control. So, to begin our spiritual journey, we need some control of the senses. Like sometimes we come to the temple and we might be coming to the temple for a very long time, but there is no change in our behavior since coming to the temple. We look at the temple as being like a social gathering place, but a temple is meant for a lot of internal transformation. Yeah, if you come to the temple but your senses are going here and there, then what is the point of coming to the temple? There is no inner transformation that is happening. You are letting your senses run free. That is why when you come to a temple, you have to be fully invested in the activities of the temple, because the activities of the temple are so designed so as to engage your senses on one subject matter, and that is Krishna. So we come to the temple and we chant our rounds, but while chanting, our mind is going everywhere else except on listening to the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We say this, but our mind is going somewhere else. So what transformation is happening? You are not connecting. Then when we come and do darshan of the deities, we come 1 second, go away. What are you actually investing in it? You're just looking, but you're not actually doing darshan. Your mind is not fixed upon the deity form of the Lord. Then what else do we do when we come to the temple? We attend classes, but sometimes when we are sitting in class, our faces look as if we are listening to the speaker, but then what's happening in our head? We are thinking of so many plans to do for tomorrow. Yeah? So where is your concentration? Where is the senses being actually invested? Are they actually in the class, or are they going elsewhere? If they are going elsewhere, then what is the point of sitting in the class as well? Last is when we honor prasadam. Sometimes we have a very impersonalistic view of prasadam. We just look at it as just food. But actually this is prasadam. We have to honor it. You know, Prabhupada ji, when he used to honor prasadam, he used to take plate, sit on the floor, face the wall, and upon the wall there will be the picture of their lordships. And very silently, in deep meditation, he would be eating every morsel of food. Even him honoring prasadam was so graceful, was full of devotion. Just the act of eating prasadam and honoring prasadam. And what do? Put everything, eat, and if too much, throw it away. Are we honoring prasadam that way? Is there any devotion? Is there any feeling that I am receiving so much mercy through this food? Or do we look at it as like, oh, this is just like some food to give me some nutrition and get on with my day? Is that how we look at it? So look, you can understand that you come to the temple for so many years, but if you are not investing your senses, your devotion in the temple activities, how will there be any change in you? So this is what Krishna says, that you have to start to control your senses. That once and that's why temples are made. Yes, God is everywhere. That's one feature of the Lord. As Paramatma, He is situated everywhere. He is Sarvatma. So why is it coming to the temple very necessary? Just like the example that is given, is that water is everywhere in the atmosphere. Why can't you just stick out your tongue and just lick the air and get quenched from your thirst? You need to go to a more tangible source of that water. And so the tangible source for spirituality is the temple, where you can actually see the Lord in a deity form. You can actually connect with the Lord through His devotees. That is why the temple is there. The temple is also known as Mandira. Mandir is made of two words. Mandir. Man means mind and Dir means sober. So Mandir is a place where it sobers your mind. It is a place where it is a conducive environment for you to be able to conquer and control your mind. Yes? So the way to control the mind is to concentrate on Krishna. That's the second C. To control the mind, you need to concentrate on Krishna. Because the mind is the most powerful sense. It is a chief sense. So if the mind is controlled in Krishna conscious activities, naturally all the other senses will follow in line. Okay? So if you can concentrate the mind on Krishna, then you will be able to then conquer the senses. So conquering the senses. So you are defeating the mind from straying away from Krishna. So now Prabhupada is given a very nice example of Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambarish. Now if you look at Maharaj Ambarish and Durvasa, externally Durvasa Muni was of a higher grade than Maharaj Ambarisha, based on both Varna and Ashram. In Varna, Durvasa Muni was a Brahmana, Maharaj Ambarish was a Kshatriya. And in Ashram, Durvasa Muni was a sannyasi, but Ambarish Maharaj was a Grahastha. So in both Varna and Ashrama, Durvasa Muni was at a higher position. Yet, what is the one thing that Maharaj Ambarisha had that Durvasa Muni did not have? And that one thing is that Maharaj Ambarisha was a Matparaha. That means that he had given his entire being in service of Krishna. His entire consciousness was filled with Krishna. Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish ki jai, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Gauritai ki jai. And Durvasa Muni, he was not at all thinking of Krishna. He was thinking that, oh, I am such a great sage. I am so desirous of my own pride that he was attached to his ability to renounce as well. So there are so many things that he was proud of, and all these things came in because his mind was not on Krishna. And Maharaj Ambarish, his mind was completely in Krishna. And so Durvasa Muni was not able to control his senses, and that is why he got angry and unnecessarily cursed and punished Maharaj Ambarish. But because Maharaj Ambarish was a Matpara devotee, he silently tolerated all the insults of Durvasa Muni and did not retaliate. This is a mark of a devotee. This is a mark of a Sthita Prajna. And Prabhupada gives an entire description from the Bhagavatam of how each and every sense of Maharaj Ambarish was utilized in serving the Lord. So we have got 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. So together we have 10 senses like that. And all of them are being used by Maharaj Ambarish in the service of the Lord. This description perfectly illustrates the point that Krishna is trying to bring out here. That only when each and every sense of yours is dovetailed and fixed upon me will you be able to be completely in control of your senses. Yes? Otherwise it is not possible. It is not possible. And another misconception that people normally have is that when we decide that we want to put our senses under full control, this means that we should completely stop doing anything. Means they equate controlling to be equal to inactivity. But that is not the case. This is not the case. Otherwise, this goes back to that example of the tortoise. That how long will the tortoise keep its limbs inside its body? After some time it has to come out. It will come out. So control does not mean to go for permanent inactivity. Okay? Because control always must have some sort of purpose behind it. For example, when we drive a vehicle, we try to keep it in control to do what? To move from one place to another place safely. That is the purpose of keeping the car under control and not driving recklessly. Keeping it under control doesn't mean that you just never put the gear into drive and you're just there. That doesn't mean keeping the car under control. Keeping the car under control is driving it safely. Yes, driving it safely. Even again, we have, I don't know if, how many of you watch cricket, but sometimes, when the commentators in cricket, they say that, oh, this batsman is in full control. What does that mean? That means that he is playing so well, he is anticipating the delivery so well, he is playing very minimal shots, and he is scoring well. So does that mean that he is just there, tuk. That is called control batting? No, controlled batting means he is playing very well, meaning he is building his innings in a risk-free way. But he is building, he is moving forward, right? Even a charioteer is going on a chariot. When he says the chariot is under control, it means that he is expert in making sure that the horses don't stray away with the use of his expertise in handling and adjusting the reins. It doesn't mean he just pulls the reins and that's it, I've got the horses under control. Meaning you keep the horses under control means the horse is moving under your direction and not that you are being dragged along by the horse's direction. Okay? So control does not mean inactivity. It means to move in the right way. So sometimes we always think of control as in a very negative way. Don't do this or don't do that. But such control doesn't last very long. In fact, we normally see that when we artificially try to become inactive, when there is no engagement, is when your mind will start playing a lot of tricks. Because as there is a very famous English saying, idle mind is the devil's workshop. So when you artificially become inactive, what are you bringing into the picture? An ideal mind. And that ideal mind is a devil's workshop. Why is it a devil's workshop? Why is it a devil's workshop? Because we are always seeking pleasure. And if we do not try to pursue seeking pleasure in higher activities, our natural tendency is then to seek in lower pursuits. Okay? Because we are pleasure seeking individuals, we cannot go a moment without wanting to seek pleasure. But if you don't do something constructive, you will definitely try to find some pleasure in destructive engagements. Because it's a very natural, because that's the reason why we are here. We are here in the material world because it's very easy for us to try to find pleasure in the sense gratification in the gross bodily level. We had this session with His Grace Nityananda Ashra Prabhu about the 4 levels of happiness. If we want to go higher levels of happiness, we have to move from the physical to the mental, to the intellectual, and finally to the spiritual. If we don't try to find it in here, where are we going to try to find it? In the lower and lower stages. And in the lower stages, you go and do all sorts of sinful activities. Yes? So we need to have positive dimension in terms of controlling our senses. And that positiveness comes when we are giving ourselves to devotional service. That is the highest. The highest sort of pleasure we will get is when we devote ourselves in doing bhakti and serving the Lord. Why? Because when we start to serve the Lord, we will get real spiritual bliss. Why? Because Krishna is the possessor of 6 opulences. That is why he is known as Bhagavan. He is a possessor of all the bhagas, so all the opulences. Anything that attracts us in this world is but a small spark of the quality that Krishna has in fullness. So Krishna is able to attract everyone. That is why the name Krishna means all attractive. So when we start to give ourselves to Krishna, surely he is going to attract us fully. In this world, we are attracted with the small sparks of units. But when we go to Krishna, we are in complete connection with the powerhouse of all these qualities. So definitely, he is going to be the most attractive to us. And that is why we need positive incentives to look forward to help us on our path to first control our senses, then concentrate the mind on Krishna, and finally when we do that, we will naturally conquer our senses. That is the way. And Krishna, now for completeness, in the next 2 shlokas, they're kind of linked. The next 2 shlokas are linked. So in the first, in this shloka, he says that if we are able to keep it under full control, because we have fixed our consciousness upon him, then only we will be called a man of steady intelligence. Now, what happens if we are unable to restrain our senses, and so we are not able to keep it under control? What is the cycle or the entire downfall that will happen? That now comes in the next 2 shlokas. Before then, Krishna goes to answer the 4th and final question of Arjuna. And what is the last question of Arjuna? How he walks. It is Kim Vrajet. Now from 264 till the end of the chapter, Krishna now tackles the last one. But the next 2 are actually very, very informative, because we are always falling at these stages. We are trying to control our senses, but we are unable to. We are always unable to restrain our senses. But now when we see the entire journey map of what happens from accidental fall downs, that will be a real fall down, and then you'll come down finally stuck and entangled in this material world again. So the next 2 shlokas are very, very informative. So please read these 2 ahead of time, and you'll enjoy even more when we discuss them. And not myself, but we have got some devotees coming from the USA and Nairobi. They are the ones who are going to be explaining these 2 shlokas in the next few days. Okay? Anyone questions? Any comments? Okay. Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.